Hi guys, it's Heather with Running with Scissors, and today we are doing the dashing doors tutorial. This is the second quarter, box number 4. This is your January door hanger, which you will paint in January and display late January, early February if you want. And you can see it is a heart with a chevron pattern in the center. Today we are going to be using any black, any white, any red, and any pink. Now, of course, don't limit yourself to those colors. You can use any colors that you want. Now is the time to get creative, especially with Valentine's Day, because you can do turquoises and purples and greens. You can do any color you want on your Valentine's Day project. But for this one, we are just going to use those 4 colors. Now, remember, you don't have to have the exact colors that I am using. I am using Santa Red by Deco Art Americana, and I'm using Pink Polish, that is an apple barrel color, and then just a white and a black. But of course, you can use any colors that you want. And if you only have a red, then you can mix red and white together to get a pink. Remember to mix your colors to get the colors that you want. So make sure that you have your paint markers handy, your paint brushes, of course, a couple cups of water and a napkin, scissors, and of course a pack of baby wipes. Baby wipes are always handy. And of course we have our bag of ribbons as well, and we'll get to those later. And in your kit you also have a template for the word if you want to put it on. You don't have to if you don't want to. And of course you have some transfer paper for that as well. Okay, so let's get going. First I am going to paint, I'm going to paint my whole heart white, just because I want to start with a nice white base coat on this. It will make my job easier down the road, and it will also make my job easier to not have to just do this outline section here. So we're just going to paint the whole entire thing white to start. Now you can put your paint on a baby or on a paper plate if you want, or you can put it right on your project. I'm just going to put it right on my project. You don't always want to put the paint right on your project, but for your base coats, it doesn't hurt anything. You see, I'm just making my way around the whole entire heart, getting a base coat on. And as soon as this is dry, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my second coat on, but I'm only going to focus my second coat to the outside ring where we have that scored line at. So when I put my second coat on, I'm going to go all the way around the outside of the heart, only up to that score line there, right? That inner heart score line. You could do the entire thing if you want to, but I am not going to. Okay, our first coat is dry, so we are going to go ahead and we're going to put that second coat on. Now, once again, I'm only going to go around the outside of this heart here with that second coat. It is up to you whether or not you put a coat on the whole entire thing. I'm not going to be crazy about trying to stay inside that line. I am just going to focus on getting that second coat on those edges there, that edge there. It's about a 1-inch border around there. I don't care if I go over that line. I'm just not concerned about covering the whole entire thing with a second coat. Remember, if you have any questions at all, you can message us. You can text us or email us or Facebook message us. Okay, there's my second coat on my outside edge. I'm gonna rinse my brush off now. Remember to take and use a paper towel to get the excess paint out of your brush, and have 2 cups of water handy. So 1 cup you can use as your master kind of first brush clean. And then once you get most of the paint out of your brush from that first cup, go ahead and use your second cup as your final rinse. And then dry your brush off with your paper towel and lay your brush flat to dry. Now, if you don't want to wait for your project to dry on its own, you can use a hair dryer. I do pause the video and I go dry my project, and then I come back and restart the video. That way it doesn't take me 4 hours to do a tutorial for you. All right, so as soon as this dries, we're gonna start the next color. Okay, so our second coat of white is dry along the outside edge of our heart. So we are going to get started with the pink. I'm going to do my pink first because it is lighter than my red. That way, if I get any pink outside of the chevron lines, the red will cover it up. I am going to use probably a number 11 angle brush. Yeah, I guess I'll use a number 10 because that's the first one that I found. So I'm using my number 10 angle brush. You guys know, if you've watched any of the other tutorials, I use angle brushes the most. I like them the best. You can use whatever brush you're comfortable using, but I like the angle brushes because they get up next to the score lines a lot better than any of the other brushes. And I mean, that's really what they're for. So I'm gonna do every other chevron, the pink color, and then whatever chevron's left over is going to be red. So I am just going to follow the line of my chevron with my angle brush. And remember, everything does need 2 coats, so don't stress it if it's not a great coverage with your first coat. And much like when you color in a coloring book, or when you did color in a coloring book, I do my outlining first, and then I'll come back and fill it in. Now, you see how I'm just following the lines, okay? And once I get this outlined, I will bring the project back up to the camera so you can see it. If I lowered the camera, all you would see would be my hand. So we'll keep it at a distance and I'll bring the project to you. Now remember, we're going to outline everything with a paint marker when we're done. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but that is my first outline. You can see where I don't have it all the way to the edge right there. I'm not gonna worry too much about that. Maybe I'll catch it on the second coat. Maybe not. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just fill this guy in. And I'm just gonna continue to use this number 10 angle brush even on the fill, because it's not a huge space to fill and the angle brush will work just fine to do that. And then I'm gonna keep working my way down the heart through all of these chevrons. Remember not to leave any bumpers of paint. You do not want bumpers. Bumpers are those lines from the sides of your brushes of excess paint. Go in and sweep those up. If you leave them, they will dry like that. Okay, so that's the first coat of pink on our entire thing. So I'm gonna come back to the top where I started because that is dry already. And I'm going to start my second coat. Now remember, if yours isn't dry, you can dry it with a hair dryer real quick, or you can just sit and wait for it to dry. But don't put on a second coat until your first coat is dry. Okay, our pink is dry. We're gonna start our red now. And just like we did with our pink chevron, we're gonna do the same thing with our red chevron. Or whatever color you are using. Feel free to step outside the box. So when you do this, you're gonna just paint right up to your pink chevron line. Don't worry if you go over a little bit or if you don't quite get it all the way covered. All right, we're gonna start our second coat on our red chevron stripe. Okay, my second coat of red is dry, and so we are ready to do the edge of the heart, and I'm going to do a black stripe edge. Of course, once again, use whatever color you want, or if you don't like the way that we did this, you can look on Pinterest or Google any kind of other heart door hangers for inspiration. I'm going to do wide stripes. I want my stripes to be about the same thickness as my border is. So I'm just starting right at the V of the heart where it comes at the bottom point. And I'm going to do about a 1-inch stripe. Nope, not gonna measure it. I'm just gonna eyeball it. And of course I'm gonna put an inch between them as well. And I'm gonna go all around my heart doing this. And then we'll come back and we'll do a second coat. Okay, so I'm getting towards the end of the heart again, to the point, and I want my stripes to line up as best as possible. So I'm gonna come down here and I'm just gonna start this one because I know this is absolutely where I want this stripe to be. And then I'll put the last one just in the middle, and it might have to be slightly smaller so that it looks uniform. Just like that. All right, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do a second coat. Okay, my second coat of black is done and it's dry. And so now I want to add some different kinds of color into my chevron stripes. Now, you don't have to do this, of course. You can do whatever you would like to do. But I am going to mix a little bit of pink with white. And then I'm gonna mix a little bit of black into my red. So I'm gonna lighten my pink up and I'm gonna darken my red up. And I'm gonna use a number 5 rounded brush. It might be just a little too light, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more pink. All right, and then I'm gonna add just a little bit of my black into what I have left of my red. All right. I'm gonna take my rounded brush and I'm gonna start with my pink first. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of paint on it. All right, friends. Well, it turns out I got a phone call just after I mixed the colors for these stripes. Well, the video immediately terminates the phone call so it doesn't come through, but I did not catch that it stopped the recording. So I painted all of these stripes without it being recorded. So I'm just gonna walk you through what I did real quick here. I was using a number 5 rounded brush. And a little bit darker of a red and a little bit lighter of a pink. And so I'm just, because I have pink paint left, I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I did with the pink. I started at the top of my heart, and the bottom part of the chevron piece just got a pink stripe drawn on it or painted on it. You will not need to put a second coat on these. You're just doing a stripe along the bottom edge of the chevron piece of both the pink and the red, but you'll work through the pink first. And my apologies for that. I'll have to pay attention next time to make sure that the video did not stop. So just like this, you're gonna come in and you're gonna put a pink stripe. Of course, it's totally optional. You don't have to do that. All right, and then you're gonna do the same thing with the red chevron piece. It's on top of the red paint, and you're gonna just run your darker red on the bottom edge right along the score line of the chevron. And you'll do that for the whole entire piece. And down here at the peak, this is the lighter pink, and it just follows the edge of the score line of this where it meets the outside border of the heart. Okay. All right. So once you have that done, then we're gonna outline the heart with our black paint marker. Now most of you have a number 5 paint marker. That is the medium size, so you can use that. Or if you have a number 7, you can use a number 7. I'm going to use a number 7, and I had already started this when I realized the video wasn't working. So we're gonna start at the peak, or the dip of the heart here, and we're gonna run our black paint marker around our score line, around the whole entire heart. Now this is gonna cover up any mistakes that you made going past the score line with your pink or your red paint, or maybe even your black paint when you made your stripes. So you're just gonna run right over top of all of that. Now if you only have a number 5, that's fine. Just use that number 5. You can always make your stripes double thickness by going back over it again on the 2 lines side by side. Now if you don't have Posca paint markers, you can use a fine liner brush. You can use a liner brush, and you can do the same thing with just some black paint. Takes a little longer, takes a little bit more patience, but it can absolutely be done that way. All right, so there is my outline. All right, there is my outline. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the outside edge. I'm just not going to be straight on top of the wood piece. I'm going to more angle it so my marker tip is half on the piece and half off the piece. Now you can get all kinds of creative with your heart. If you don't want to do a black and white stripe border, maybe you want to do a polka dot border. It's totally up to you. Maybe you want to put dots in each of those white centers. Whatever you want to do, it's your heart. Okay, now I'm kind of torn here, guys. I'm gonna admit to you, I'm pretty torn about this. I initially, when I had this plan in my head, I was going to trace these stripe areas with a black paint marker to get some black in there, but I absolutely kind of love it just the way it is here, so I don't really feel the need to put any more black marker in there. But you could definitely go and do that. Before I make my ultimate decision on it, I'm just gonna paint my word in here, and then I'll decide. Maybe I want to, maybe I don't. I know for a fact that I'm going to use my number 3 Posca pen, which is my liner pen, and in white, and I'm going to come in here and make some squiggles and stuff because I love the way that a white paint marker adds some highlights and some fun to it. But for right now, I'm gonna get the word in there, and we're gonna go from there. Okay, so you all got a word template, and you got a piece of graph paper or charcoal paper. Yours is probably in much better condition than mine. Yours will be a new piece. I reuse mine over and over again, and you can certainly reuse yours as well if you would like to. So if you don't like the word, don't put it. If you want a different word, this is pretty simple to do. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of standard copy paper. You can open a document program like Word or Publisher, and you can type out a word that you want and pick a font that you like and make it about 10 inches. So it takes up almost all of this paper, and print it out. And then you can change the template of the word that you put on. Now you can position this however you want. I'm positioning mine on an angle up the side, but it could go in the center. It could go straight across. It could be up here in the corner, however you want it. I'm going to do it over here. And let's see about raising this camera up a little bit to give you a better view. Okay. All right. So the shiny side of your graphite paper goes down, and then just make sure that it's underneath all of your letters. And I need 2 pieces because it's not going to cover my L. That's where I'm going to position it. And then I'm going to use my scribe or my embosser. That's this little doodad here. You can use a pencil, anything that has a point on it. And I'm just going to trace all of my letters just on the outside of the letters. Now this is just transferring wherever I am using my scribe to the template, to the heart. I try not to over touch the carbon paper because it will transfer onto the heart if you press down in too many places. So I try just to come in here and get my word traced. Now, if you are a calligrapher, you need to call me first because I want you in the studio. But you can hand write your word on your template if you are that good. I am not that good. I mean, maybe with some practice. All right, now before you take it all completely off, just lift up and make sure that you didn't miss any areas. It's really easy to do. Miss areas, that is. So lift up both sides, just hold it in place, lift up. Okay, I'm good. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off my graphite paper and my template. And I no longer need my template. But once again, I saved my graphite paper because it is useful for many, many rounds. All right, so I'm going to use a medium Posca pen, so that's a 5. I'm going to use a medium, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to trace all of these letters and fill them in. Now, you can use a fine liner brush and black paint if you don't have the Posca pen, but the Posca pen does make it much, much easier. You could also add a lot of glitter to this. I always think, you know, glitter and Valentine's Day go hand in hand. Y'all know I'm not much of a glitter person, so that won't be happening here, but you could definitely do it. Okay, so my letters are all outlined, and now I'm just gonna fill them in. And because I am left-handed predominantly, I am going to start up here so I'm not running over top of my work. Okay, so there is my word all filled in. All right. All right, so now comes the fun part of putting in all of the accents. So I'm gonna put some, I'll put some circles, some dots around that L like that. And let's see, I'm gonna put some right here. You can use the end of a paintbrush with some black paint to make dots like that. You can use your Posca pens. You don't have to do it at all. Whatever you want. And I'm gonna do them right here at the end of my E as well. Okay, now let's see. Now I'm gonna move on to my white Posca pen, and I am using the fine Posca pen for this. This is the number 3. All right, the number 3. And I am going to do a lot with this guy. So first I'm gonna come in and I'm going to just draw some stripes or some squiggly lines around the heart, the checkerboard border. Now there's no right or wrong to this, guys. You do as much or as little as you want. I love the way that a white marker looks on a black, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not really gonna pay much attention to how I'm doing it. I'm just gonna do it and we're gonna see how it turns out. So you can see I just went through and just added some random stripes or just kind of followed the outside pattern there. And now I'm going to continue on with just my randomness. I like squiggly lines when I highlight with the white. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to do some squiggly lines. Now I want to make sure that I'm putting them on the black because of course they're not going to show up on the white. And make them fat and small and just squiggle. I don't think about it when I do it. I just do it. Okay. All right, let's see, what's next? We gotta do something with this word. We gotta get some more color in here. So I'm gonna take my same fine line paint marker and I am going to put some white into my word. I'm going to just probably trace it, I think. That sounds the best to me. I might not get it exact, but here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna trace it as if I were writing it. And I think I'll just come back and do that again on the other side. Yep, just like that. I might come in like that a little bit. I don't love that right there, so I'm gonna come back in with my black paint marker. I'm gonna cover that up. We're gonna let that dry, and then I'll fix that because I did not like that. Okay, moving on. Okay, so when I'm coming to this intersection, which I didn't like how I did it at that intersection, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't make the same mistake here and here. I am only doing the white crossover at one intersection. And so when I come down here, I'm gonna stop this there and then bring it around instead of crossing over it. All right, does that make sense to you guys? I just did not like the way that turned out. I'm gonna fix it on my L as well because I do not like it. So we're gonna come in here and we're gonna fix this here. So let's see if I get this in here so you can see what I'm doing. I just had to fix those intersections where I crossed my white over itself. I didn't like how that turned out. The good thing about it is you could just fix it. So all I did was come back in with some paint, a black paint marker, and cover it up. And now I'm gonna go back over it. Wait till make sure you wait till it's dry. Don't be antsy like I am, because I'm just getting black paint marker onto my white paint marker and having to clean it back off. Okay, that fixes that. I'm happy with that. All right, let's see. My camera keeps slipping here. Let's see if I can show you the whole entire thing. All right, there it be. There it be. Now you can do whatever else you want to do to it, but for me, this is how I'm going to leave it. I like the way that it turned out. I changed my mind halfway through and didn't put the black stripes in there to cover the score lines, because when I came back in with that lighter pink and that darker red, I really like the way that that turned out, and so I'm just gonna leave it. And that's generally how these things go. You never know how it's gonna turn out until you're in the middle of it. So, all right, let's put our hanger on and get our cluster in there. So to put our hanger on, both of the ends of the jute go through the front holes to the back. Grab both of those ends and bring them together. And then just make your front loop as tall as you want it to be, as long as you want it to be. And then bring the other two pieces together to meet the top of that. Pinch them and tie an overhand knot. And then cut off the excess jute that you have. All right, pull that knot to the back of one of the holes and then even your strands out. And then we're gonna make our cluster. So to make your cluster, you're going to take your ribbons and you're going to fold, well, they come folded in half already. Then you're going to fold them up like a taco. And you're going to cut a dovetail in the ends. And to cut that dovetail, you're going to cut from the folded edge up and out. And then you're going to flip it around. You're going to do the same thing. Taco, folded edge, cut up and out to the corner. And that created two pieces with a V in each end. And you're gonna do the same thing for this ribbon. Now we do give you ribbons based on the colors of paints that we are using. So if you use a different color paint, you may have to source different ribbons, which I know can get expensive. You are welcome to come into the studio if you live in the area, and you can buy a ribbon cluster from us for $4. It's a lot cheaper than spending $16 on a spool of ribbon, and you would actually be buying 2 spools, so it gets kind of pricey. Okay, so when you build your ribbon cluster, we just make X's, okay? So you're gonna lay one ribbon down and then cross it with a different ribbon. Now, it doesn't matter how you lay these out. It's totally up to you. This is not how I want mine to look. So I instead want to just cross both of my double sets together instead of one this way, and then, you know, reversing them again. I want both of mine together like this. This is how I want this particular ribbon cluster to look. And so you just build an X and then take your zip tie and wrap it all the way around. If you have 2 different size zip ties, you get the larger one goes around the cluster first. Make sure that they are even, that you're in the middle of your ribbon X here. And then just begin to tighten your zip tie down. and you can move your ribbons around if you need to while you're tightening that cluster down. Now, before that zip tie is all the way tight, take the shorter zip tie and run it through that loop or the hole of that zip tie, and then finish tightening that down and snip the end of that off. Okay, so here's your ribbon cluster. Right, there's your ribbon cluster. And now you're going to take and decide which side you want it on. I'm gonna put it on the left-hand side because my word is on the right. So I'm gonna take the entire zip tie and wrap it around both pieces of the jute that is on that side. And I'm going to tighten the zip tie down, get my ribbon cluster how low I want it, and then I'm gonna finish tightening that zip tie down, and then I'm gonna trim the end. And then you'll just have to fluff that ribbon cluster again. And there you have your finished hand-painted door hanger. That does not fit in my screen, but there you go. All right, guys, thanks. Hope you had fun with this one.